How are we doing, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing my experiences with Evasion versus DR Hero in the console, where we are capped at C10. If you're watching from PC, this is probably not relevant for you guys, because obviously you got C20 over there and things will change. Now, I've had both sets of gear at the same time for a little over a month, and besides that, I've also played Evasion Ninja for over a year. I've played DR Ninja for probably around 6 months, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more, can't remember exactly. So I've got a pretty good experience using both sets of gear with both specs for Ninja. I can tell you that when it comes to Awaken Ninja, DR is just better. So we're going to quickly start. This is mostly going to be about Succession because the Awaken one's pretty simple. If you're Awakening and you hit 301 on both the Pre-Awakened and the Awakened kit, that's when Awaken Ninja really starts to pop off. I need a lot of gear. If you look at your screens now, this is the kind of gear you're going to need at pretty much full C9 to be able to do that. So really hard to get with the Evasion setup, and even then, it's going to be better if I was 309 with an accuracy accessory, because one of the main issues for Awaken Ninja is accuracy. So being 309 with an accuracy accessory is better than what you see here for every scenario that you can think of. Except maybe surviving in a katana shower, then Evasion would be better at that point. So, that being said, let's talk about the crystal build for DR on Awaken Ninja. And another reason, before we talk about the crystal build, another reason that Awakening is better with the DR, the reason you go Evasion is to be able to be a bit tankier. But since you can mitigate all the damage using your frontal guards, that is pretty much infinite access to on the Awaken Ninja kit. You frontal guard, iframe, frontal guard, iframe. You frontal guard regens during your iframe. So yeah, it's just super strong because of that. Now, when it comes to crystal setup, if we're talking about Awaken Ninja using DR, you go Quadrahooms in your helmet and your boots. Then you go Vipers in your gloves. You go Evasion crystals in your chest piece. Corrupts in your Kudum with Elcars in your main hand. That's what I would recommend. If you want to change it around a little bit, you can go RBF Adamantimes and then Hooms in your helmet. If you prefer having the res route of things, that's not something I personally prefer. If you want to go AP Monkey and be Glass Cannon, you can go human damage in your boots, human damage in your helmet, and keep everything else the same. Or you can even put human damage in your chest piece to go super AP Monkey. It does work on Awaken Ninja, but personally I feel the original crystal set I gave you was the best one. Another thing I did mess around with, what you can change around in your sub category depending on whatever, it doesn't matter what crystal build you go with in the end, you can take out your corrupts and put in anti-ignore res crystals, the siege crystals slash node war crystals that you can get. So you can put those in here for ignoring grab res, which is a great option as well. I personally like putting one of those in there with one crit crystal, but it still worked just as well with two in there with no crit at all, or you can just keep the crit. So those are the different crystal builds. And that's Awakening out the way. Pretty simple right there. Hopefully that helps you Awaken Ninjas out. The rest of this topic is going to be on Succession Ninja, because Succession Ninja, there's a lot of things to talk about, a lot of scenarios where DR is going to be better or Evasion is going to be better at some things, DR is going to be better at other things, and it's a bit more complicated. I'm going to be giving you guys tips and tricks. I'll probably go into a few rants here and there. I'll be talking about what classes you really have to be careful of. And yeah, so let's get into that. But the first thing we're going to start with is gearing. So when does Evasion come online for Succession Ninja? It's at the 285 bracket. So that's when it starts coming online. You need 285 AP in your pre-awakened bracket. Get rid of that. So you need 285 AP here, and then you need full pen C5 armors. That's when it starts coming online. But even then, DR is going to be better in a lot of scenarios, or pretty much all the scenarios at that point. It's going to be more effective. It's going to start becoming really effective in terms of Evasion once you full C9 on your armors with a 289 bracket on your main hand. That's when Evasion is going to start feeling really good. If you look at the Node War video that I've got from a little while back, I'll put it in the description down below. That's me on the 289 bracket right there, because I blew up my earrings at the time. So I was running a Capotia earring. I was running this red coral earring with a Capotia earring at that point. So 289 is going to feel really good. Every AP bracket you get after that is going to feel better and better. And when it comes to the advantages that Evasion has over DR and the advantages DR has over Evasion, it's going to increase the advantages for when we're talking about evasion, the more AP you get. So do keep that in mind. Now, that being said, let's start going through the scenarios of the advantages that we're talking about. Well, actually, no, before we do that, let's quickly talk about the helmet choice. So, helmet, you want to get the Griffin helmet. It's better than Heave. The only time Heave becomes better than Griffin is if you're running hybrid. It's a little bit better. If you're just running Sissels, Heave is a little bit better. If you're running both the Sissels and the Centaurs, then Heave is better than Griffin at that point because we have 10% evasion scaling on the Ninja Kit. All evasion scaling. But most of the time, you're going to want to have the AP route. The hybridization is only... I'd only really recommend putting the Sissels on. I don't think Succession Ninja is very good when you put both on if you're fighting similar geared players. If you're fighting less geared players, then yeah, that's really effective at that point. Putting both on, they're just not going to be able to kill you, and you're going to be able to kill them. You're going to feel like a striker. It's going to be very, very OP. But similar geared players, that does not work. Does not work at all. Maybe against something like, I don't know, a Ranger, that would work because they're super squishy, right? But that out of the way, is there anything else I want to talk about gearing? I think that's pretty much it. Let's go on, start talking about the scenarios then. So large scale. Let's start there. Large scale, if you are DR, bombing the bull is going to be more effective with DR, but skirmishing outside of the bull is going to be more effective with evasion. Reasons being, obviously, when you're bombing, you want to kill as many people as possible with as few skills as possible. The more AP you have to do that, the better. With the amount of damages in the game, as soon as a couple of people notice you're there, you're going to instantly die if you're doing any kind of lingering SA skill, like a blade spin or a red rain. Any of those kind of skills, you will just die in them. So it's all about catching them by surprise, engaging in the back of the bull. When your bull's engaging, that's when you come in from the back, from the flank. You try and find where the rangers and archers are, you dive those guys, and you try and kill them as quickly as possible. And then from there on, if people are paying more attention to the bull that's coming from in front of them, you can move around a bit more and do some more damage. If they start turning around and looking at you, you got to get your ass out of there. It is a little bit harder to get out with DR because as you're getting out, you're going to be able to get killed real quick by any range classes that start shooting you effectively. But with the performance on console, it works against you and for you when you're trying to disengage. It works for you because sometimes the stutters and freezes will actually nullify the damage that's coming in, so you live. But most of the time, it will knock you out your iframe, you get CC'd and you die. That's kind of how that works. Now, evasion. So it can still do the bombing really well. Again, watch that previous video. 289 bracket, you can see me do some decent bombs, but you can probably notice I would have got a few more kills if I had more AP at that point. So it can still do that job well. Doesn't mean if you're evasion you can't bomb the back. I'd still recommend when the shot call is made to dive, your bull to dive their bull. Just disengage from whatever skirmish you're in, dive the back line of the main bull and try and kill as many people as you can, or at least disrupt as many people as you can. So that out of the way, talking about skirmishes. The reason evasion is better in skirmishes and the most optimal skirmishes that you want to be doing is you want to be with your teammates fighting a bunch of enemy players. So let's say it's 3 of you, like against maybe 5, 3 to 6 enemy players, right? Evasion is better because it's going to let you stay in that fight longer, doing more disruptions and causing more openings for either you or your teammates to capitalize on, to CC someone, and then you can just dive bomb them and kill them real quick as a team. So the reason is, you get behind them, you got your evasion gear on, you're going to take a few hits here and there. If you're DR, taking a few hits there here and there usually means you have to disengage because you're super, super squishy and the next hit's going to kill you. So you need to get the fuck out of dodge. But evasion lets you stay there a bit longer, take a couple of extra hits and cause more disruptions. And when you're doing that, you want to be on... So if your teammates are on one side of the opponents, you want to be on the opposite side of your opponents. So that way, your opponents are going to either be facing you, exposing their back to your teammates for CCs, or they're going to be facing your teammates, exposing their back for you for CCs. So, and then obviously, if you focus one player, let's say there's a Guardian that's already done his damage rotation, and he's just like lingering a God Incinerator. If you just all jump on top of him, one of you or two of you, a bunch of you, someone's going to have his back. And even though Guardian does a lot of damage, you're going to be able to out-trade him by having more than one person putting damage on that target. And again, being evasion, trading is better in your evasion setup than it is with the DR setup. So that's why in large scale, those are the advantages and disadvantages for the two different specs. Personally, I preferred using evasion in large scale. That's the one. Even when I'm doing like big GVGs, when I had both sets of gear, I was usually putting on my evasion because having that bit of extra survivability really helped. I didn't like putting Sissels on full AP for large scale scenarios. You want to be killing people. You can never get tanky enough to be able to be a pure disruptor like a support ninja. Even if you had both on, you're still not going to be tanky enough after the reworks. So it doesn't really work in those scenarios. Now, let's bring it down to 1v1s. Okay, so 1v1s. Evasion overall is better against pretty much all classes when comparing it to DR. The standouts that Evasion is going to be better in is ranged classes. So really we're talking about Zerker, the current Titan Bow, and Archer. You kind of need to be able to tank a couple of hits to keep closing the gap, applying damage, and waiting to be able to get that opening to CC your target. And Evasion is going to help you do that. And even putting a Sissels on to go a hybrid build can be pretty nice as well. It just depends what gear your opponent has, so it's up to you to figure it out. If you're similar geared, I'd still like to put the Sissels on. Especially against archers, maybe not as much Zerkers, because you're going to need to... Zerkers are pretty good at close range, and you're going to need the damage to be able to kill them. So kind of a lot tankier than archers. So, where is Evasion not good? Well, that's against Gauntlet classes or 1v1s. So if you're going against AP Gauntlet classes, it doesn't matter what spec you got. If you're going against a Gauntlet class that just has the Sissels on, pretty much it doesn't matter. A DR has a slight advantage. If you're DR, you have a slight advantage compared to if you're Evasion. But when they start memeing out, when you go against gauntlets that have both the Centaurs and Sissels, and even if they got more, at that point DR is just better, so you can actually one combo them. If they got both sets on, if you got a Giant Drought on, and obviously Villa buff, Food buff, and the what's it called? An Alchemy Stone, all the regular buffs. If you got those on with the Evasion Ninja, you can one combo them off a grab, but you're gonna need to do the grab combo in my previous video. I'll link that in the description down below. Where you need like 14 or 15 skills off cooldown to be able to do that combo, which means up until you get the grab, you're very limited on the skills that you can use because you need so many of them to be available to combo your opponent. You can't play as aggressive as you would normally like to with Succession Ninja, and just because usually in Succession Ninja you're repositioning, going for CC, repositioning, fishing for CC, repositioning, fishing for CC. You're not really doing that. You're really just repositioning, lingering, and you're trying to find when your opponent gets into an animation lock to grab them. That's basically what you're doing against the gauntlets. But when you do that, if you're using Evasion, that's when you can kill them. DR, you don't need as many skills. You still have to do proper combos, but you don't have to use optimal combos. You can use other skills in those proper combos to finish them off and to kill them. So DR is better. But I will say, if you're talking about Succession Mystic specifically, you have to be very careful against Succession Mystic. They have an absolute absurd amount of damage, and they can kill you standing up from a decent range. So, honestly, in my opinion, Succession Mystic damage is a bit too overtuned. They need to bring that down and just transfer some of that damage into the Awaken kit, so there's a bit more versatility. Because I think if you talk to Mystics, no one really likes playing Awakening Mystic anymore because it just doesn't have enough damage to be effective. But I haven't played it myself, so I can't say for certain if that's true. But I have played against Awakened Mystics, and they can't combo me when I have my Evasion gear on, and I can combo them. So, yeah. If you're going against Awakened Mystic, I guess Evasion is better. So I'll put it to you that way. But you won't be going against Awakened Mystics. So it's kind of irrelevant until things change. And then everything else, it's not that, doesn't really matter whether you're Evasion or DR, but I'd say overall Evasion, you have the advantage. And I'm also talking about just similar geared opponents. If you're over gearing your opponents, Evasion is always going to be better because it's very likely if you out gear someone by a decent chunk that they're not going to have to combo if they catch you, which means you can just be really sloppy and kill your opponents like strikers. If you get CC, it doesn't really matter. You just get up, grab, and kill them. So there, that's the 1v1s out of the way. That's the large scale out of the way. Now 1vx's, really, it's hard to say which is better. you're always going to be going after squishy targets, right? So since you're always going after squishy targets, if you are DR, you're going to kill them standing up, and you don't really need to catch them. And you're going to be able to kill them standing up really fast. So that's great and all. But remember the thing I talked about earlier is you don't have a lot of time to deal with suck rangers. You don't have a lot of time to deal with Zerkers just staying back and throwing range damage at you with a Titan Blow and the other skills in between. You don't have a lot of time to deal with archers if they're just staying away pew-pewing you. So you have to keep like disengaging and burning stamina, disengaging, burning stamina, disengaging. Or you have to hard commit to hitting those, the archers, the ranger, or the Zerker, and if you don't kill them, you're kind of fucked because you've used your stamina to get to them, you're running low, you kind of have to linger something, and then you're just going to die standing at that point. But if you do catch up to them and they don't protect themselves properly, you can kill them standing very easily on DR. But I would say, if there is Archer, Succession Ranger, or Awakened Zerker in the fight, you'd have a better time overall playing on Evasion rather than DR. But as soon as there's like the tank classes, if there's a bunch of gauntlets there, like they're going to be meme because if you're 1vxing, they're not going to be putting their AP gear on. They're going to be putting their meme gear on because they don't need their AP gear when there's so many people there. And you're not going to be able to combo them. So you're just killing the squishies and then constantly running away from the fucking gauntlets because as soon as you CC1, you're not going to be able to full combo them, which means they're going to get up and then they're just going to run away. So yeah, you can chase them to catch them again, but if you're not successful, you're going to be cucked on stamina and you're going to be putting yourself in a bad situation. So DR is better because it's still not great, but it's better in those scenarios. So that's kind of the differences between Evasions and DR across the board. Now, PvE, I'll touch on. Currently, the grind spots we have on console right now, DR is better than Evasion. It doesn't really matter, to be honest. There's very minimal difference. The only place is Sakraya. You're gonna be able to get 100% hit rate on the Sakraya mobs. A lot easier if you got DR gear with like a Tech Kudum than just having Evasion gear. But later on, when we do get places like the Crypts, and we get places like the Ash Forest, and a lot of the Elvia spots, Evasion's actually going to be better for PvE at those spots because they hit really, really hard. I hope that, guys, helped you out. That's my personal experience with Evasion versus DR. Personally, I prefer Evasion. I really like being able to hybridize. So, going Sissels, going Centaurs, this kind of stuff, especially when you're going against lower geared players, just makes it really easy. You don't have to try hard. You can just kind of face roll and kill people. And I like that. I like that a lot. And as well, just being able to, one of the main things with Suck Ninja is being able to do Blade Spin and Red Rain without dying. And it's a lot easier to do that with, Evasion. It's very difficult to do that with DR. You usually die in those skills because you just take way too much damage. And a quick side rant. Sork is fucking busted. They need to nerf that class. I will show you a clip. Hopefully I've still got the clip. I had Sissels on with full pen C10 evasion armors. Grim Reaper with the flow killed me in Red Rain. Just straight up killed me. I don't understand why that class, who's got pretty much infinite iframes that can just ignore all the damage you're throwing towards them, can fucking one-shot you, then, well, two-shot you, because you got to count the flow as well. It's ridiculous. And if a goddamn Sork complains like, oh, but we can't kill Gauntlets, I don't give a fuck, man. I don't give a fuck if you can't kill Gauntlets. You're so strong against every other class in the game outside of Gauntlets and Shield classes. You need a damage nerf, and then maybe they can just look at the class-to-class modifiers and give you more damage against those specific classes that you have issues with. Because your damage is crazy. Sorks is probably, in my opinion, on console, the most busted class, simply because we're capped at C9, so we don't have super tanky players that aren't gauntlets. Anything that's not a gauntlet, even shield classes, capped at C9, man. Sorks can easily kill them on console right now when they just do AP monkeys, and especially if they get accuracy accessories as well, then they can easily kill gauntlets too, dude. Sork is in a really, really cringe place at the minute, and any Sork that wants to say they're not strong enough is fucking lying to themselves. Anyway, sorry, I don't know why I went on a Sork tangent at the end there. But that's going to be the end of this video. It looks like it's going to be about 20 minutes long. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was educational and informative. I'll catch you guys in the next one.